Okay, so now the important step of bringing the balls in. So there are 10 balls to bring in, 5 white, 5 red. So for that we'll need a prefab. And we've made a prefab ball here. Now this looks like a sphere, and it is a sphere, but it's not a sphere that's one of the sort of native game objects of Unity. It's actually a sphere that's been made by uh, my friend Rohann Dorabjee. And what Rowan has done is he's made a mesh for this ball, so it's a spherical mesh, but he's also made a ball stamp. He's also made the label that will go on the ball to indicate the number of the ball. So basically what he did was he made a model. So basically I've imported a model here of the ball, and it's got the ball mesh, which is the sphere, and the ball number, which is the wrapped number that goes on the ball. And so that's what the ball prefab is made from. If we have a look at it, we've used the ball mesh there, and we've used the ball number mesh on this game object here. In addition to that, I've made a canvas, and again, this is a world space canvas, and that's so that I can hold the number, which in this case is a TextMesh Pro number, TextMesh Pro field, which will contain that number, and that will display above the ball because it's quite nice in a gate when you're looking at a Gateball lawn if you can see the number of the ball not only on the ball but suspended above it. Now that's something that we will switch on and off because we don't want that to be tumbling around while the ball is in motion, but it's quite good when the ball is stationary. I've added a sphere collider to the ball. We'll be using that to make it so that the ball rests on the lawn, and of course that means we give it a rigid body as well. I've taken the liberty of putting the mass of the ball in, and I've put a couple of drag factors in here. They'll help us when we're deciding what to apply to make the ball seem realistic in its terms of motion. Um, and we've got a script on here as well, a ball script. It's very, very simple at the moment. It is literally just the ID of the ball, either R1, W2, R3, all the way up to W10. We've got a reference to the ball stamp so that we can change that for each ball. And we've got a reference to the TMP text so that we can change that as well. So let's talk a little bit more about how we changed the stamp on the ball. What Rowan made for me was a whole bunch of materials, so one for each ball. So with this one here, we've got a texture, which is the number 1, just a picture. Let's have a look at that texture here. It's basically just a texture just being imported in. It's the number 1. I've got another one for number 2 and number 3 and number 4. So it does make that in Photoshop or similar. And then you make a material which is going to be that number but with the right color. So this is now the reason why it's red for number 2 is that that's what's going to be on the number. So remember, it's what's on the number that's applying to the color is applying to here. So this is going to be a white number 3. This is going to be a red number 2, but of course that will be on a white background on the actual ball itself. So these 10 materials here are going to be applied to the balls as we instantiate them, and they're actually held in a materials array in the setup script. So let's have a look at our setup script. Uh, we've got a ball prefab. We've got a field which holds all 10 of the materials that are possible to apply to give that number on the ball. And this is the little loop that we do to generate the balls. So we're going to do it 10 times. So we have this loop that's going to go through 10 times, starting at 1. And each loop of the cycle, we make a ball using the prefab. And this stuff here is really just to place the ball near the starting grid. So with a z coordinate of -7 and an x coordinate of -7.7, so that'll put it near the starting grid. But so that they don't all land on top of each other, we change the position of the ball according to which ball it is we're generating. So we can do that by increasing the position of the z coordinate, so that will stagger it, that will line them up. But let's give it a little stagger as well, so the white balls are in one line and the red balls are in another, by applying this factor, which is basically saying if you divide I by 2 and you get a remainder, then do so, use that number. If you don't get a remainder, then there won't be anything there. You won't be subtracting anything. So that's a good way of applying to the odd or the even numbered balls. Once we've made a ball, we'll add it to our list of balls. So you can see up here we did create a new list for balls as well. So the three new things we've put in are the ball prefab, the list of balls, and the array of ball materials for the ball stamps. To actually give each ball its identity and to make sure it's the right color, we say if I can be divided by 2 with no remainder, then it must be an even ball, and that means that we're going to apply white, and we're going to call it, the name of the ball is going to start with a W, and the yeah, I mean that's a bit of redundancy here, I guess, because we're basically saying the same thing twice, but clearly if there is a remainder, then we've got an odd ball, and that means that the ball is going to be red. Now, once you've made the ball with the right background color, now is the time to put the correct ball stamp on that. In other words, change the material of the game object that is forming the number that's printed actually on the ball. And that's just a matter of picking the right ball stamp. It's going to be one less than the I that we're dealing with, because remember, we started with an I of 1, and things in Unity are stored with an index. The first thing is stored with an index of 0, so we're just taking the 1 off there. And then we just make the ball label as well. So these, all of these 3 fields in the ball are now filled. You'll notice as well that when we instantiated the ball, we actually instantiate it at a position of 2 high, which actually is a bit higher than the lawn, so they'll all just drop down. But that's fine. That gives a nice pleasing effect anyway. The other thing I should mention about the mesh is that Rohann made is that the mesh that he made was really quite large, and I actually scaled it down a lot. So to get it to so that it a size of 1 is a meter, I had to scale it down by 50-fold here. And then when we go to the prefab, what you'll see is that the size is, the X is 7.5 centimeters, which should be just right for the ball. But we'll do a little bit of checking of the ball and the gate in a moment. So let's see how that works. So on the empty controller, we've got the ball prefab. We've got a list ready to hold all the balls, and we've got these ball stamp materials, which are going to be applied to give that number that wraps around the ball. So what we might do actually is position no, let's just go. So uh, let's start. And what will happen is that the gates and the pole will be put out, of course, and but now we should also get the balls put out. There they are. You see them dropping, and the balls look rather nice. We can have a look with uh, our little fly cam here. There they are in the game view, and you can see the numbers are on the side, and there are also numbers suspended above. Now, with those numbers that are suspended above, it would be nice if they always faced us, and it would be nice if they weren't there when the ball was moving. But ball movement is what we're going to do next. We've now instantiated our balls. You can see them here in the hierarchy, R1 all the way through to W10, and the gates have been instantiated, the pole's been instantiated. We can now concentrate on getting some movement into our simulator. So that's what we'll do in the next session.